Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar on active and equitable recruitment strategies for computer science students. My name is Yvonne Loya, and I am the program manager for the You Teach Computer Science program here at UT Austin. And my colleague is joining me today, Leslie Brommer, who is our curriculum development specialist. So today we're really excited about this webinar. We know that this is a time of year when students are starting to think about what courses they're going to be taking for next semester. And many of you are probably having events to talk about different course offerings. So this is a great time to come and think about ways that you can increase the number and diversity of students that are currently participating in your computer science program, whether it's a new program that you've started or a program that you've had that you've been running for a while. It's always great to think about different recruitment strategies. So in today's session, we're going to provide you with a planning guide that you can use for your specific campus. We're going to go over some ideas and activities and flyers, a lot of additional resources, and we'll even talk about how you can earn a micro-credential if you're able to implement some of these strategies on your campus, on your campuses. Here is the link to our bit.ly with all of these slides. So I definitely recommend that you download these slides. You can take a picture of this bit.ly and download these slides so that you have all of these resources that we're going to talk about in today's session. So in today's session, really the focus of our session is really on the access and equity piece. We know that in computer science, there's such a need. There's so many jobs that are going unfilled in this particular field. And so we want to make sure that we are attracting as many students, any student, to computer science, not only to fill that workforce, but also, we know that there's also a shortage of computer science teachers in the field, and we need more computer science teachers. And so how can we get more computer science teachers if not by recruiting students? And so what we really want to focus on and really encourage you all is to really cast the net wide so that any student can participate in a computer science course, have access to computer science courses, and that we remove any barriers that currently exist that are preventing your students from being exposed to computer science, the field of computer science, and going on to work in the field. And so that's really important and the focus of our session for today. And we also want to encourage you to use a curriculum that is inclusive for all students. And so, for example, with our curriculum, we offer curriculum for APCS principals and APCSA. And our curriculum is culturally responsive. It's engaging for student. It has a universal design. And so when we designed it, we were really wanting to make sure that it was meaningful and relevant to students. So many of you might be offering additional computer science courses, but for the purpose of this webinar, we're really going to focus on these two AP courses, AP Computer Science Principles and AP Computer Science A. When College Board designed the AP Computer Science Principles, they were really wanting this to be a great entry point for any student to enter into computer science. So that's really designed a course that any student can really participate in. And then the same with Computer Science A, although this is more of an entry into computer programming, it's still accessible, should be accessible to any student. So when we think about the prerequisites and you're thinking about, which students should we be targeting, which students should be taking these courses, it should be all students. And so as you see here with the APCS principles, there really are no prerequisites. Any student new to programming can take this course. They do not have to have any prior experience with computer programming. Now, College Board does recommend Algebra 1 as a prerequisite for this course, but that is not a requirement. And so it really just depends on your campus. We do know that there's some districts that do require Algebra 1 as a prerequisite, but it's not something that you have to do. For the APCSA, if a student has some programming experience, that is recommended. They'll do really great in the course, but they're also going to be learning programming. So even if they don't have that computer science experience, that should not be a barrier for students to take this course. The prerequisite for the APCSA is the Algebra 1 course. And so really thinking about, as you are starting to recruit your students, really thinking about those Algebra 1 students and making sure that you're getting in front of them and letting them know, now that you've completed Algebra 1, you should, think about taking this computer science course. So in our curriculum, our focus for the APCS Principles course is really on big ideas, and it does delve into some programming. We do use Scratch and Python in the course, and then we will be preparing students for that performance task. The AP exam, at the way that it's structured, there's a performance task for the exam, and then multiple choice exam in addition to the performance task. So all of that will be embedded into the curriculum. And then for APCSA, we really focus on problem solving and object-oriented programming. The programming language for this course in the curriculum that we offer is Java. And then we will be tailoring, the course is tailored to the AP exam to ensure that students do well on that multiple choice and free response questions within the exam. If any of you are counselors, we do get this question a lot in terms of what type of pathway to develop for your students. And so there really isn't one answer for that. We have a lot of school districts that will offer a foundational CS course followed by CS principles and then CSA, and then perhaps maybe a cybersecurity course. But there's lots of different ways that you can offer your pathway. We do have, because there is not an Algebra 1 requirement for APCS principles, we do have many school districts that will offer the CS principles course as the entry point, followed by maybe a cybersecurity or foundational programming course, and then the CSA in their senior year. So any variation is really available to you, and depending on your students, your needs, and your requirements on your campuses. Okay, so let's talk about recruitment. So as I mentioned earlier, we do offer a recruitment guide for you to be able to download. It is in the slide deck, and so you can download this recruitment guide. And this is really to help you think about what are the steps in order to have an effective recruitment plan, and for you to think through ahead of time all of those elements and writing them down, because that's really effective, to really think through, these are the things that I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to implement it, and then going back to see, what worked, what didn't work, what needs to be changed. And so as you're going through your recruitment guide, we really want you to examine, what are your current school's demographics? What cultural context? What is the background of students that you serve? And really wanting to encourage you to design your recruitment plan to attract all of the students that fall within the demographic of your course. So we really want to encourage your CS courses to match the demographic on your campuses. So really thinking through, how am I reaching those students, and are there any barriers that are preventing certain students from signing up for CS courses? And then decide what's going to be the most compelling theme for your students. So really thinking about, is it going to be letting them know about the career opportunities that are available in computer science? When you're thinking about your first generation students, for me, I'm a first generation student. And so I know when I was thinking about my college career, I was thinking about, how am I going to make the most money? And that was something that my mom was drilling into my head. And so she was like, you need to become an engineer. So that was my decision-making process. And so I went into engineering. Once I started taking the courses, I realized that it was not for me. But I also know that the influence of my mom was really heavy for me. So really thinking about, what are some themes that are really going to be compelling for your students, and then communicating that to your students and also parents. We know that Generation Z, actually, they really do value parent input with some of these major decisions. So really thinking about how you're communicating that, not only to your students, but to their parents. And then connecting with, who else can help you with this recruitment plan, making sure that your counselors know exactly what is going to be offered in the courses, what kind of experience or what students can expect from the courses, letting your administrators know about your courses, partnering with other teachers. I mentioned that Algebra 1 prerequisite for the CSA. So making sure that you're connecting with that math teacher to let them know, I'm accepting students for my computer science course. Let's bring your students along. How can I get in front of them? And also reaching out to parent organizations. If you have a strong booster club on your campus, making sure that you're talking to parents, because parents talk to other parents. So if you can bring your booster club on board, they could be really great recruitment advocates for you. And then implementing your recruitment plan. As I mentioned, we gave you a guide. We're giving you a guide for you to fill out. Make sure that you're collecting all of those details so that you can come back and refer to it and see, reflect on what worked, what didn't work, what could we improve for years to come. And I touched a little bit on this, on the themes, really thinking about, what are the interests of your students that they can connect with, finding out what are the salary ranges for computer science professionals and letting them know that there's a lot of opportunities for them, career opportunities beyond high school. And then giving them a sense of belonging, really helping them to understand, within this course, there's going to be a lot of collaboration. This course is designed with project-based instruction, and really thinking through, when you go into the workforce, you're going to be working with others. And so through collaboration, you're going to gain those skills that are really going to help you be effective in the workforce once you graduate from high school. And then identity, really helping students understand how can they see themselves as computer scientists. And so that's a lot of the collateral that you will use to attract students to these particular courses, which we'll be sharing later on in the presentation. But really thinking about your classroom should reflect different perspectives and different backgrounds of folks that are successful in computer science. Okay, so now we're going to get into some ideas for recruitment. And so Leslie has taught both computer CSP and CSA and has a lot of experience. And so she's going to share some of her tips for recruiting students that she's used in the past. So Leslie, go ahead and take it away.
Hello. Yeah, so use your students. I definitely did this to recruit other students. So, we had, I had a lot of students that were in band. And so I would tell them, go tell all your band friends to take my course. We had over 300 band students at our school. So it was a big majority of students. And so I would tell them, go tell all your band friends to take my class. So using your current students to recruit for you, I would invite students individually. So in other classes that I taught, like computer applications and other things, I would, if I saw a student was really interested, then I would individually invite them, or students that were in CS principals, I would individually talk to them and encourage them to take CSA, the next course, or my cybersecurity course. So individually connect. I mean, that's huge for a student. I think that a teacher would invite them to come take their next course. I did use other teachers. We had a STEM pathway. So I made flyers for my courses, and I shared those flyers with the STEM teacher. And I asked her, hey, could you just, give these flyers out, or give me a little plug for my computer science courses? Any of your STEM students that she would do a little Scratch module in her course. So any student that you saw that really liked the programming part, can you encourage them to sign up for me? I would go to the math teachers, algebra teachers, geometry teacher, and ask them, hey, do you mind just giving a little pitch for me at the end of your class? I would use the counselors. So I made up flyers for them. I went and handed them a stack of flyers. Hey, can you give these out to your students as you talk to them? I explained what our courses were, what my courses were, so that they had an understanding. Definitely not beneath bribing them, your counselors. We fortunately had a lot of exposure for my courses and extracurricular activities that I was in charge of. My administration was very supportive. So anytime we had any kind of open house or visitors on campus, they would always make sure that I had some students that were displaying, you know, their robots, the Sphero robots out in the lobby. I'd set up my room to look like a Cyber Patriot competition, and my students would be in there acting like they were hacking away. And of course, that always interested other students because they'd walk by and my room would be dark, but we would have all these lights up, bistro lights, and we would display a big, interactive map of what cybersecurity threats were going on real time. So that's something that I did. I also asked a student to make a commercial for me. So we had morning announcements, and we also had a TV studio in our school. I actually asked a student to make a commercial for me, and then they would play that commercial on the morning announcements, the week or two before kids were going to fill out their course selection. But also our film and video students class that another teacher taught, they would make a commercial. So see if you have anything like that, use your students. They may be great at making videos. Yvonne, do we want to play it or do we have time?
Yeah, I think so. Do you have it queued up and ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
This is, can I share? Can you let me share my screen?
Sorry, thought I had already done that.
That's okay. So I kind of told the student a little bit of what I wanted, and he put this together and there. So I love this video. Okay, can y'all see?
Yes.
Oh, you know what? I had my AirPods in. Hold on. Let me get back to.
Like computers?
Can you hear?
How about happiness?
Yes.
Puppies? Computers? Would you like to learn how all of this becomes something like this? Or how you can make an animation like this? Then you should consider joining a computer science course where you can learn all these things and more. Still not convinced? Let's see what some more important people have to say.
Coding is something that can be learned. And I know it can be intimidating. A lot of things are intimidating.
We all depend on technology to communicate, to bank, information, and none of us know how to read and write code. Great coders are today's rock stars.
So what are you waiting for? Course selections for next year begin March 4th. If you have any questions.
Yeah, so that was our video, and I'd play it every year. I had to get this last slide changed because we kept changing the name of our courses. I kept adding new courses. And so we had to update that every year. But so things like that. The other thing is that I would try all year to make sure that what my students were doing was getting exposure in the community, either through the district website or even like the newspaper. And we even were interviewed on a TV show. So I'd have any kind of coding competition, the congressional app, the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow Challenge, Cyber Patriot. We did the coding Code Quest contest. So anything like that where my students won or placed, I'd always tell the PR department at our district and they'd write an article or something. So just having in exposure in the community, I think helps like with parents, knowing what's going on in your classroom. So I think that's all.
Yes. So as Leslie says, it does take a village. So making sure that you're reaching out to parents, and as you have any collateral that you create, making sure that it's accessible to students that speak other languages. So you all know your campus is the best, your district the best, and the backgrounds of your students. So if you know that you have a high population of students that speak Farsi or students that speak Spanish or their parents, making sure that all of that collateral gets translated into those languages. And then with parents, I mentioned this before, but giving information about jobs in the industry and the earning potential for students, that's always a great motivator for parents. Making sure that you're talking to your counselors and teachers, we talked about this earlier, and then explaining those differences between the CS principles and CSA. As I mentioned, CS principles, any student can join that course. And for CSA, even if they don't have programming experience, they could still join that course as long as they've taken computer, as long as they've taken Algebra 1. But then also sharing success stories, especially if you have a student that was tentative about taking a computer science course and then they ended up doing really well. That student would be a really great ambassador for your course. So really thinking about, what are those barriers? We talked about this earlier, but are there any barriers that are keeping your students from taking your courses, and really thinking through, like, why do those barriers exist? How can we remove those barriers so that any student who has interest in computer science can take these courses? Setting up class observations. So if you could do that within your class and inviting students. I know we have CS Ed Week coming up in early December. So really thinking about, what are you going to do for that week? Do you have some activities already set up? Can you invite some students to come in and check out your students in action so they can do those class observations? And what kinds of activities can you have set up throughout your campus so that students can get some hands-on experience with CS? And then in terms of, recruitment events, having an open house, having an hour of code event, there's a lot of resources available for hour of code events, making sure that you have relevant posters that students can really connect with, not just, the Mark Zuckerberg posters, but, posters that are inclusive of different perspectives and different backgrounds. It is really important. Some campuses will have like a CS showcase or a carnival. So, working with your administration to plan events like that. If you can have funds to have students go on a field trip to go meet professionals, especially, really thinking about tapping into your local community and what industry is available. Lots of professionals love to talk about their work. They love to show the next generation of computer scientists what they do on a day-to-day basis. So if you can plan a field trip to visit a local industry and have a professional talk to students, that's going to have a really big impact on students. Are there any other recruitment activities that anybody would like to share in the chat box, or any challenges or successes that you'd like to share? Okay, so I just want to go through some resources that we have available for you on our website. And also, as I mentioned, make sure that you are downloading this slide deck so that you have access to all of this. So our team has worked really hard to develop recruitment flyers. So these are already ready-made flyers for you. We have a student-facing flyer, and we have a flyer that you can share with your counselors with all of this information already set for you. All you have to do is download it. And then, if you have students that speak, a subgroup of students that speak a different language, you can always cut and paste and use Google Translate to translate this information into other languages as well, so that you're making sure that it's accessible to all the students on your campuses. We also have on our website a list of posters and articles and videos, as we participate in different events throughout the country. We go to webinars, we go to conferences, our team is always looking for different posters that represent different perspectives so that students, if you have female students, if you have Asian students, if you have LGBTQ students in your classrooms, that we have posters available for all of you that any student can connect to and relate with, and you can have those up in your classrooms. And then, access to, there's a lot of other organizations that have toolkits and workbooks and guides on how to make computer science as inclusive as possible. Because as I mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that computer science is attracting a diversity of students for our future needs. And then even College Board, I hope that you all will visit their website, because they have also embedded a lot of resources into their website with recruitment strategies and toolkits for you to use for both the APCS Principles and APCSA course. Okay, and so the last thing I want to talk about is just earning a micro-credential. So as you are going through all of these resources and as you come up with your recruitment plan and you decide, okay, I have my plan, I'm going to implement it, why not demonstrate your mastery in this area? So if you go to our website, we've partnered with Digital Promise. And so we have micro-credentials that we offer through our website. And it's really simple. You take our strategies, you decide how you're going to implement them. You send us some type of artifact letting us know that you've implemented this strategy, and then you write a reflection, and we will review all of that information and award you with a micro-credential. So you'll receive an electronic badge that you can post on your LinkedIn page. You could share with your administrator, or you can just share with your friends, or just have it for yourself so that you know that you have mastered that particular skill. So I definitely encourage you all to go to our website. And if you decide to implement some of these strategies, definitely sign up to earn a micro-credential. And so just to recap, we want to make sure that you are making this as fun as possible. So as you're recruiting students, if you have like student ambassadors, make sure that you are rewarding them in some way, maybe having a pizza party for them afterwards. If there's a cool t-shirt, students really love t-shirts. They'll do anything for pizza and t-shirts. So if you have like a t-shirt that they can get, so that they can, walk around campus and feel really excited about the work that they're doing in your class and what they're learning, that's always something that's going to make it a lot more fun and engaging for them. And then as the point is to get started, and then, knowing that as time goes on, you can always improve upon your plan. So, you try one thing, it doesn't work, you can tweak it for the next year. So rounding up the team that you're going to work on, that you're going to work with, reflect on what works and what doesn't work, make those revisions year after year, making sure that you are changing up the assignments. If you have a video that you've done, how can you change it up? And continue to revise it, and then repeat what does work. So if you have something that's working really well, continue to do it year after year. And so we want to motivate you all to really think through making sure that you're thinking through the things that are bringing you the most attracting the most students, for sure. So those are all of the tips and the tools that we have to share with all of you today. As I mentioned, we have our bit.ly here with everything that we went through, all of those posters that you can download from our website. But then if you have any other questions, definitely stay in touch. You can shoot us an email. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And so you can always reach out with more questions. Or if you come across additional posters or resources that you think, oh, that would be a really great resource for you all to add to your current listing of resources, definitely share it with us. We'd love to hear from you.